Okay, I don't know what just happened, but like, it better not be Spaces cutting me off here. All right, we're just going to wait for a few more minutes. We're starting again. Let's just see what we can see about this situation. Because everybody was in there and then everybody wasn't in there. So I have all my devices turned off that need to be turned off. We should be good. This is Psychic Carla Barron. We're going to look at, we're going to look at, and whether that link works, that original link works or not, I don't think it will. I think people need to pop in here and see there's a new one started. And it's recording, so we're good. Let's take a look at what this president has done. What has he done? Like, is this the start of World War III? Were we meant to come into a situation and be born into this to see what's happening? I don't know. So anyway, all right. So we're starting again. Hopefully everybody finds the new recording that's going on now, because this is recording. I am going to take questions from preferably people that I know. If I don't know you, please be kind. And we're just going to take a psychic look at what damage this has caused, to the world, to our global collective. Let's see what's happening. All right. If you want to ask a question about this, about a specific area of what's happened in the past few days with Iran and Israel and what's going on here, and this attack on Iran with no backing from the US government, just Trump going after these people on his own, out there by himself making decisions, and God help us. Let me take a look at this and see what I see first. I have somebody asking me if you need to request to speak, you need to send me a request. I don't know what that other thing is. All right, so if somebody wants to make a request to speak, just send me a request that you want to speak. It's not really showing a request. Okay, so I don't know what's going on with this app today, but it's kind of crazy. And I posted a few things about what the retaliation might be. So if our internet is possibly one of those things, don't be surprised if there's an attack on the infrastructure, on our communication, on our devices. I mean, this was not sanctioned by anybody. I feel that Donald Trump wants to just make a name for himself before he checks out, before his soul leaves this plane, and he wants to somehow garner a Nobel Prize for what I do not know, but that's, he's got aspirations. Let's just say that. All right. If somebody has a question, let me know what that question is, because I'm not seeing your request. If you're sending me a request, just send it or post something to me so I can add you as a speaker on here, because I don't know if this app is working correctly right now, but we're going to go. We're going to keep going. I thought it was important to address this today and not Brian Kohberger. We'll do that closer to the trial itself later this summer, but I thought this was a little more important. All right, so we have questions here from two people. All right, Michelle, let's start with you. Hey, sorry, I don't know what happened. It just sort of stopped for a
I
second.
know. It
All
was
right.
weird. I was going in and out. I couldn't connect at one point.
Yeah, I think there's probably issues with the app right now. So it is recording. It seems to be fine now. So let's take your question. What's your first question on this situation? I know you're
Oh,
fearful, but let's try to not
yes.
make it about everybody's fears. Let's
Mhm.
make it about finding out from the universe
Mhm.
perhaps what's next, you know. So
Oh,
what is your question?
my question, do you see Iran um, actually retaliating to the US, the retaliation? Do you see us getting hit with a bomb or?
Okay. And you don't need to speak very loud. You can just speak regular.
I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I just think the levels are, you know,
Yeah, it's weird. Okay.
kind of weird today. All right. So let me take a look to see if Iran will actually make that move and they will retaliate against the US for this attack on their country. And I'm not getting into the politics of this and who's right, who's wrong. These are people. Okay. So
Mhm.
we're getting into a war that the American public did not want to get into. And, you know, this was all in the name of Trump, you know,
Ego.
adding to his little resume before he
Mhm.
checked out, you know, and you know what? I'm not okay with that. I'm
Mhm.
definitely not okay with that. All right, so let me take a look. All right, just relax for a minute. Okay. I'm going to have you mute your mic, Michelle, because I'm getting all your feedback from whatever
Okay.
noise happening over there. Okay, so let me take a look at Iran. Will they retaliate from a psychic perspective, from what I do every day? Will Iran retaliate? Hold on, let me look. And again, I use regular playing cards. It's just something to do with my hands to keep it busy, keep a rhythm going, a personal rhythm. Oh, this is interesting. Okay, I don't know everything about this situation because I wish I had time to like read every single news story as it comes through. But part of what I'm seeing is I think there was some sort of handshake agreement with Trump and, you know, the leaders of that country, of Iran. And I think he reneged on the deal. That's what I'm seeing. I'm seeing there was some sort of an agreement, like a handshake agreement. There was some sort of an agreement, and then Trump backed out of his part of it. So let me see if it was Trump or if it was Iran. I need to double check. Was it Trump that reneged on the agreement? Was it Trump? Okay. Yeah, there's some sort of like a backdoor under the table sort of deal that went on here, and it looks like the deal was understood to be one way. Okay, let me see who reneged on the deal. Okay, well, This is interesting. I'm seeing other leaders of other European nations also in this group. So there's a deal that none of us know about as the public, and it looks like this deal was spoken about behind closed doors. And other leaders of other countries, and for some reason I'm picking up Germany as one of the countries, possibly Italy, and it looks like there was a deal that was sort of understood. And then what happened? Let me look to see what happened with that deal. Okay. Yeah, apparently Trump didn't think this through when he made the deal, and he didn't have the power to execute that deal. So, they were waiting on their end. Let me see what was happening. Okay. Just relax and breathe. Let me see what was happening with this deal. Yeah, it was like he was talking to himself. Like he didn't understand the actual logistics of what he was laying out as his grand plan. He didn't understand that like parts of it were impossible to complete. And I think that was part of the problem. The logistics of the plan itself weren't viable. And people were trying to explain this to him at the table, and he was like, no, 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 it'll work, it'll work. I know it'll work. I was told it would work. It's going to be a great deal, a great plan. It's going to work. Let me just see why. Okay, why the final attack on Iran? Why was the attack finally executed by Trump? Why was this plan executed? Okay. See, again, I'm almost getting like, this is where I'm getting the words China and Russia. And I'm getting that they sort of turn their back on the whole thing, saying, no, sorry, you're on your own with this. And I think he decided to show his bravado that he was going to go forward with this plan anyway without their help. He didn't need them. He had the greatest country in the world, the greatest military, the greatest, strategy, the greatest money, the greatest country, and he was just going to go ahead without them. And they advised against it and said, part of this is not even doable, what you want to accomplish. And he said, I don't care. We're going to do this. And I don't even think it was about like nuclear weapons at this point. I think it was more about just, again, his ego, Trump's ego, and the fact that he had to have what he had to have. And whether or not it made sense in his head, it didn't matter, because he knew it was going to work. He was told it would work, or he imagined he was told. And he ignored, the naysayers from the other prominent countries saying, hey, you don't want to do this. It's not going to work like you think it's going to work, and you will be outsmarted. I'm hearing the words outsmarted. So, okay. Michelle, did you have another part of that question?
I did, Carla. I was seeing that Iran and Russia had an emergency meeting, and I think that Russia is going to back Iran in this so-called war that we may have. I mean, do you see anything like that happening?
And where did you see that?
Right on X.
Oh,
I kind of reposted,
well,
in
I mean,
fact, what I was seeing.
was it from a credible news organization?
It was Iranian messaging, stating that they were going to have an emergency meeting with Russia. I mean, I could see Putin jumping at the chance
Well, I'm getting
to get into a
that
war.
Trump had offered, so-called offered, China and Russia a place in the kingdom, in the triad,
Hmm.
like, come join me, we'll destroy everybody else, and I think that's when he got a little bit disappointed because they came back with various I'm going to have you mute your mic again because I'm hearing like noises
That's
in
the
the
air conditioner.
attic.
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll mute it. Hold on.
Okay. So part of what I'm seeing is I'm seeing that he offered them saying, hey, look, join me or forever hold your peace because I'm doing this. If you want to jump on board and join the clan, go ahead. Um, but you guys are losers if you don't want to join me in my triumphant, war on Iran and proving that I am the greatest leader in the world and this and that. All right. So part of what I'm seeing is that both China and Russia, I'm seeing both of those countries, those leaders coming forward saying, hey, buddy, not this time. Like, it was just too dangerous what he was suggesting they do. And they said, look, we don't want to annihilate the entire civilization as we know it. We, we can't get on board with this little, schoolyard fight you've got going on over here, because you're putting your nose into something you know nothing about. That's what I'm hearing them saying to him, that he knows really nothing about the actual war, the actual concerns, the actual basis for this territorial, religious, uh, fight over, that particular region that's been going on for centuries, and he does not understand. And, we're just going to let them fight it out themselves. That's basically what they said. So if there is an alignment now of Russia with Iran, let's say that's happening. I get that is in direct response to pretty much shutting Trump up and just saying, just shut up and sit down. Because now we're going to the other side and we're going to help him out. I don't think they wanted to. I think they don't want Trump thinking that he's the puppet master and he can just pull strings whenever he wants. I think it was a show of power. It wasn't an allegiance, it was more a show of power. And they have a good thing going with their territories and how they're getting it done over hundreds of years, and they don't need Trump coming in telling them how to operate. That's basically what the conversation was. I see China. Let me see what China's response was. Just psychically from my vantage point as I look at this. Let me look at China's response to this. Okay. I mean, I just see that they're disappointed all the way around. Like they're just not happy with any of the let me just look here. I think they respect the power of Iran. I think they respect it. They see them as a worthy adversary, but they also see them as like they could be a friend. They could be a friend one day, in trade, world trade, or ideas, or culture or, you know, any of the good stuff that comes with, you know, various people within a country that are developing. I think the reason that nuclear arms came into this whole deal was I think it was a bunch of threats from a bunch of bullies over a period of time. And I think they're just feeling like they need to protect themselves. I'm not so sure that Iran was looking to utilize those. I think they just wanted to have it just in case. I don't think there was like this thing saying, "Oh, you know, we have these weapons now. We're going to use them and you guys better move out of the way." I don't think it was that at all. I think it was more, look, we need to be prepared in case some of you are stupid enough to try something. And I think that's all it was. I think that's how it started with, you know, and I don't think they had the intention of using any of those weapons. I think they just stockpiled everything and they said, well, if worse comes to worse, the world started in our region or around our region and it's going to end that way too, and we'll rebuild if everything gets blown to bits. But, you know, I mean, I don't think it was out of hate or hatred. I'm not so sure it's about, you know, the country's uh, citizens or inhabitants hating each other so much. I think it's about these leaders that are so bent on acquiring, you know, certain areas of land and resources and money and trying to be the best and hoarding everything, that all the good people, the citizens, the friends, the families, you know, all of them got swept up in everybody else's agenda that were power mongers. I think that's what happened there. I think this is a few people, a few very karmically enhanced people here that are working out karma from a number of lifetimes. And I think this is where I have to see if we're actually headed into a World War III. If everybody's going to lose their minds and they're just going to one up each other until this happens. Let me just take a look. What is the possibility that is the very beginnings of World War III? What is the timeline telling me about this being the beginning of World War III? Just relax. Well, I can see every country in the world is worried beyond worry right now. Oh, and there's Trump, and he's all angry. Well, that's a surprise. Um, then you know he's going to try to come around, and he's going to try to backpedal a little bit and say, "Oh, you know, I just want to be friends with all the nations in the world." He has no intention of being friends with anybody unless they let him be the top guy, the top dog. He's going to be the top guy, and everybody should bend a knee, and that's how it is. And I don't think he understands compassion, you know, or the fact that some people have their own regional issues that karmically they need to work out for themselves. You know, we can advise them, but we can't force people to do this and that. That's where he crossed a line. He's trying to force countries, force leaders, force the inhabitants of every country he has touched into doing his bidding. And that's where the word dictator was coming about. So, are we headed into World War III? Did this particular event cause the beginning of World War III? In the history books, as we go down the timeline, further down the timeline, Does this mean we are in World War III? It doesn't look good, guys. It doesn't look good. I looked at it 3 times here. It doesn't look good at all. It looks like the any words that come out of Donald Trump's mouth right now will not be believed. Any deals he tries to erect will just be laughed at, and I don't see us getting out of this. Let me ask this. Will the United States be targeted as a country? Will, God forbid, will they try to, I'm just going to say the word weapon, will they try to weaponize this and direct it at the United States? Will the United States be under attack in a military, warlike fashion? Believe it or not, I see China also coming in to maybe help us. But they're going to want a deal first, and they want it in writing. And I think it has to do with a trade deal. I think they're just tired of being manipulated. And I think they might offer to help us, believe it or not, because I don't see them really getting into bed with Russia at this point. You know, it's gotten so beyond what it started out being. It started out being about this very small thing, and now it's developed into these huge issues, and everybody got swept up in it. Let me look at the rest of Europe, the other countries that I was seeing. What are they going to do in response to this? Are they going to just be quiet and sit back and just wait? Are they going to get involved? Let me look. What will the other leaders, the other countries in Europe do about this attack that happened on Iran? Okay. Okay, here's the problem. Trump is not a likable person, and he has pretty much pissed off all the factions in Europe and China and Russia, and he's pissed off everybody. So he has no real friends left. Even with his threats, he's got no friends or people that want to come and back him for anything. If they do so, it will only be to make a deal that benefits them somehow, some way. That's the only way this is going to happen. I am surprised that this man is still walking around. I'm just going to say it that way. You guys that know me know what I'm talking about, but I'm still surprised that this leader of this country is still walking around, because that's how much he is hated right now. I just think that, you know, there's going to come, let me look down the timeline and see when that boiling point will be, because I definitely think that this was the beginning of something. It doesn't look good. What I saw was it was the end of the way of life as we know it right now. Like, I see such a huge change. This isn't just some regional war now. This will be the end of the way that things are done. I think the Constitution itself will actually be rewritten. I honestly, I see such huge changes that will happen because of this nonsense. Because nobody decided to learn anything and assimilate any lessons this time around. Nobody There's a lot of people out there talking about politics and like, oh, well, if Kamala Harris had won, we wouldn't be in this. The thing is, people are going to get angry about what they're going to get angry about. Whether that can be diffused and how eloquently someone can come in and diffuse the situation is the key. It's about making sure everybody's happy across the board, finding out what other people want, and let's try to at least go a little bit towards making that happen. But I think what happened was Trump decided he was playing a game of jacks, and he decided to take all the jacks for himself, and he controls the board, or, Monopoly or whatever other game you want to, put out there. And he controls all the pieces, all the board, all the money, all the everything. And he's going to take all of the stuff and he's going to go hide at home. And he's going to let everybody else just fight it out. I don't think, I believe people are waiting right now for the appropriate time. I'm getting this is waiting for the appropriate time to enact the unthinkable. And I'm just going to say that. The appropriate time to enact the unthinkable. Let me see when that might be. The first window on that particular situation, is this going to be, what month will this happen? Okay. This is weird. Again, they're talking about how to, this one person has created such problems worldwide. Why is this happening? What, how did we let one person get this amount of control? So these are the conversations that are going on right now behind the scenes with some very important people in our government, some that we know, some that we don't. And it's not really the military that's doing the talking. It's other people that are wise and about freedom of speech, and also freedom of just enjoying your life on this planet Earth and getting along with all the other countries that have such wonderful things to offer us. And, they're sitting around not giving their prayers. They're putting their heads together going, okay, and they have a plan. Oh, I will let you know, they do have a plan. They will enact this plan. It's just the when. They're waiting for the proper moment, and the plan will be enacted. I don't think they're going to let it get to a point where the entire world will collapse and then they do it. They're trying to see and do everything they can to diffuse this situation with Donald Trump and his plans of domination, world domination, and they're trying their best. So all the people that need to be talking are talking, but they're doing more than talking. They have a plan in place. I actually see the file, and I actually see how many pages it is. It looks like it's like over 100 pages. It's like this big stack of papers, and it's definitely a covert op that would happen, but it's definitely a plan, and they have it at the ready. Nobody has enacted anything yet. They're waiting, and they're all talking about when right now. July is not going to be pretty. We're upon it. We're upon it, because I know as we head into July, we've got certain like the planet Uranus is heading into, I believe, Gemini, and there are changes that are coming about that will be very unpredictable. So if we're all just sitting around waiting to predict what's going to happen by sheer logic, put those thoughts away, because it's going to be something like you'll wake up and all of a sudden everything is going to be different. It's not about like, oh, we see the bad guy, now we need to stop him. It's not as simple as that. He's got his hands on certain things that could destroy our way of life. So, in a childish moment, would he destroy everything if he can't have it his way? I don't know. It's at a danger point now. All right, I need other questions. Who else wants to talk? I think Catherine, didn't you give me a thing?
I did, but I think my questions have been answered already.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Is this making sense to you, what I'm saying?
Yeah, it is to me. I mean, I actually do have a question. So these plans, are they planning to get rid of Donald?
Well, I can't say that on a public podcast. I'm trying to say it in words that are
okay,
very
Trump,
discreet. I'm
Trump.
trying to say things in a very discreet way.
Okay, I am so sorry. I am just to the point.
I'm not going to sit here and put myself into prison. Yeah. All right, so, but I am seeing that thoughts along that vein are being discussed. Yes.
I was wondering. I mean, there are people like angry enough that
it's not anger. It's more protection. It's more like protecting our way of life as inhabitants of the planet Earth. I mean, it's more that.
Okay.
It's less about
a personal.
There will always be people around the world that we can't stand. I mean, it's just the human way. It's human nature. Yeah, I don't care who you are. You can be the Pope, the new Pope, and still have those thoughts.
Right.
But this is a situation where it's for the good of the entire planet.
Okay.
And it will be in that vein that if something is enacted, it will be enacted in that vein.
Okay, that answers my question. Thank you.
And July is a pivot month. I'm telling you for sure. Mm-hmm. So we might get through July 4th, but I believe Uranus goes into Gemini. Correct me if I'm wrong. Somebody go look that up. I think Uranus goes into Gemini on July 7th, if I'm not mistaken. But I definitely see that, this is right around this time we're in it. Like the decisions that are made now will affect this planet for centuries.
Wow.
So no one's going to let that happen without addressing it. And no one's just going to sit there and say, oh, it's okay, you can do it. Mm-hmm. It's fine.
Right.
No. No. So somebody go look that up. Somebody go look that up and come back and tell me. All right. So I'm looking at the planet Uranus. I believe it goes into the sign of Gemini on July 7th, I think. That will give us an idea of timing. Okay. So someone go look that up. Catherine, why don't you do that? That'll be your job.
Okay.
All right. Come back and tell me.
Okay.
Okay. All right, hon. All right. So who else wants to ask a question here that's needing to ask that hasn't been addressed already? I mean, I'm trying to say things in a polite way, but sometimes there's just no polite way to say this. I mean, there are people in other countries writing to me. Like, I wake up to my emails and like some of them are just saying, oh my God, it's beyond prayers now. Like they're just saying, we hope that you're still there after all this, like that kind of email is coming. And I'm just like, these are countries that all want to see everything, and everybody just calm down a little bit. And it's not about how much money or how much control or how much power or how many Nobel Prizes or how many, I mean, how much you can orchestrate something to, so much has been fabricated in this administration. When Donald Trump took over the first time and the second time, so much has been fabricated that the history books are going to basically have to start over. That's how much fabrication has gone on here. I'm surprised that people from other countries even still want to talk to me, let alone, just because I live here, and California. I mean, I think most people in California would be just fine if we separated from these United States of America. We would be fine. We would survive. The people here have enough, resources. We could make our own little country over here. But you know what? Most of us aren't that self-absorbed. We care about other countries and other families and other ways of life and cultures and history and we're not just about living for ourselves. So I'm hoping that the rest of the country is also thinking that same thing. That we're about, help us get through this, people. That's what I'm trying to do today, is just look at what are we exactly facing at this point. I think it's beyond threats now. We've passed that point. That ship has sailed. We are past the point of threats now. It's in the danger territory, and what we decide now will decide the fate of this planet for the next couple hundred years, if not longer. Catherine wrote back, it was on the money 7/7. So July 7th, Uranus going into Gemini. What that means is, try to scroll back on some of my posts, but I will try to post that later today for you guys to read. It's basically going to shake things up. The planet Uranus is all about things that happen out of the blue without warning, just like surprise things that come around the corner that and the shakeup will be huge. The fact that it's going into Gemini is examining, people that are duplicitous, number one, and saying one thing, but they mean another. Or they're saying things just to talk that they didn't really mean. Oh, I didn't mean it. I'm just talking. The thing is that certain events and certain actions can't be reversed. That's kind of how karma works. Certain things can't be reversed. All you can do is try to balance the scales. That's all you can do. And you do your best. You do your best to balance the scales. So let me ask this. I'm going to ask, is the United States of America, is the actual geography of the United States of America, is it going to change after Donald Trump's actions? Are these United States of America, is the map going to change? Will it look the same as it does right now? Let me ask. Will the map of the United States be the same as it is right now after Donald Trump? And that's a big no. Let me ask why. What's going to happen? Okay. Why is the United States going to look different? Well, this is talking about, again, I think this is why the Constitution is going to get a huge makeover. I think states will be allowed to decide at this point whether one government and one White House gets to decide what happens with all the rest of every single state. Each state will be able to have their own voice, something like that. I can't see exactly all the details in the documents, but from what I'm looking at, each state will have its own voice to have a vote. Do they want to participate in one government, or do they want to govern themselves in certain areas and then only have a universal government for disasters and some other things? Or do they want to also take care of that themselves? And how would that come about? And instead of having one government in the United States making rulings on whether or not, if Florida is having hurricanes, whether they get more money than, let's say, New Orleans, if they get flooded again, or Texas, or, I for some reason, I'm seeing each state will be able to ring in with their vote and their voice about how this new document, this new constitution, how that will best work in 2025 and beyond. Because I think what will happen is that no one person governing will ever be allowed to take power like this again. I think that's for sure. They will never allow that to happen again. They know what the loopholes are now. They know how that happened. 200 years ago, 250 years ago, it was okay because that could be controlled at that level. The United States hadn't grown as much as they are now. But now we need new rules, new documents. We have other very fine, educated voices that can ring in from all over the world and help us design this new world order kind of thing. And I think it's not just going to be the United States. I think the rest of the world will sit down and everyone will learn from this experience how to create something that actually works now. Instead of being for the few, it'll be for the all. It'll be for everybody. So that we can all have the most precious experience in each lifetime as we come in here as souls. So that's part of what I was just being shown. You may or may not believe I see what I see, but I have thousands of testimonials that people have written in of readings I've done, and I'm shown pieces of information about the future, and many of those pieces have come true. It doesn't matter if Kamala Harris won back in November, and she actually won, and all that treachery happened with the votes, because it did. And those people will have to, they will be brought in front of a judge and jury at the appropriate time. All the people that participated in that and overthrew, that particular process. But you know what? The whole thing needed an overhaul anyway. So not only the Constitution, but the way we vote, how we vote, all the different services that are offered in this country and across the world all the trade that's happening with, you know, every country in the world. And how can we make that happen in a, you know, in a way where everyone can make themselves a success, but at the same time, you know, enjoy the fruits of other countries, you know, where they have their particular items, you know, that are far exceeding ours, or, you know, they have land that can grow certain vegetables that we don't grow so readily here. And, you know, I think a whole new idea of a universal world order and code is going to come about. I don't think it's just the United States, but I do see within the United States that every state will be able to have a voice as to whether or not they want to participate separately or as part of the whole. I do see that, you know, whether it's called secession or whether it's called, you know, whatever it's called, you know, or whether the United States of America will be renamed to the United Federation of North America or whatever. You know, I don't know what they might even come up with another name for us. But it has to be redone. It has to be rewritten. If this is going to work, these ideas need to be sewn together. There's big holes in this tapestry now. This needs to be, you know, mended. So that's what's going on right now. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? I don't want to just keep talking and talking. I am seeing things, but, you know, I want to get your questions in as well. Just submit a request to speak and I'll put you on and you can ask a question if you wish to do so. And if not, we'll wrap it up. But I think July is, you know, early July, first 10 to 15 days, right around that July 7th. I think we should keep an eye on that time frame.
Carla, it's Michelle.
Yeah.
Do you see impeachment for Donald Trump anytime soon? Because I'm seeing that a lot.
As far as
for what he's done with Iran, the bombings that they're going to bring impeachment.
All right. Well, let me look. Let me look to see if they'll actually ensnare him. Let's use that word, ensnare him in that trap.
Ensnare him. Okay.
All right. Let me look. Let's see if impeachment's on the horizon here. Impeachment for Donald Trump. Will he be impeached? Yeah, I didn't think so. I think it's so bad that, like I said, this whole thing needs an overhaul. I don't think impeachment's going to hold. I think it's the other option, which we will not speak of in plain terms, as I told Catherine earlier. I think they're discussing the other option. Because impeachment is only a temporary Band-Aid to put on that will hold for about 3 seconds. And then we're going to see something much worse. You know, then it's like release the Kraken. I mean, that's basically what we're doing. If we impeach him, then it's release the Kraken.
I didn't think so either.
Yeah, I just don't see it lasting. I don't see it sticking. And I don't see them thinking it's a viable option at this point. That might have been something for back in the 1980s or something. But you know, right now,
he destroyed so much. Mm-hmm.
Well, the other option is being discussed.
Yes.
In fact, it's being discussed now. I hear it. It's being discussed now. So it's more about the good of the planet at this point and not any one single person, which is, no, we're not going into some socialist society or socialist government. Everybody needs to calm down with these terms.
Right.
It's not that. It's going to be something even more new than that. It's going to be a new
Wow.
way of just going forward, and everybody will come. Everyone will be happy with how it is because you'll get a voice, a say in how it's done. And I'm telling you, I don't know. That's why I said I'm not sure the United States of America is going to be the United States of America. I see each state having its own choice in whether or not they want to align with the other states and what benefit that would have for them, or if it's more beneficial to stay apart. And maybe 3 states band together from the South, and maybe the West, 4 states in the West band together, and it becomes very broken. But then you have maybe one government above. I'm hearing your air conditioner again.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. So, it's something where there will be something tying all of them together, but I still get that the states will be able to have a little more control over what each state does and how they govern themselves, where it's not going to be so much like just sitting there clenching your teeth, just bracing yourself for what the government, the federal government decides to impale you with next.
Thank you, Carla.
You're welcome. All right. Anybody else have any other questions here before we wrap it up? Any other questions about this impending situation? And thank you, Catherine, for looking that up about Uranus and Gemini. Thank you. I will be posting on that after I'm done here and getting this uploaded, but I will post about, just what impact that will have. Usually the planets, it's just like, I post about that every other day kind of thing. But this particular aspect that's going to happen, this planetary transit that's going to happen, will have a major effect on the United States of America, mainly because our birthday for the United States of America hovers around certain things as well. So I will post some good nuggets about that later today, and you guys can check in on that. Any other questions or concerns? I mean, I know some people are wondering, okay, if by some miracle Donald Trump is taken out of office one way or the other, will the other guy end up taking over for him? Let me just see, or if they will just have another vote, if they will just have another vote for president. I just think that everything is going to change so much with the Constitution that our regular way of voting and who gets in office and the Constitution and the governing factions and the the House of Representatives, the Senate, all of that is going to be reworked and retooled for a future that we can sustain versus something that has so many loopholes because it's so ancient that no one, these rules are kind of silly now, some of them. And it's harming us more than it's providing anything of benefit. Okay. Final call for any questions. Thanks, you guys, for showing up with questions, because it's always good to bounce those off of me, and instead of me just doing, an hour monologue. Any other questions while we're talking about this subject? About Iran, about Israel,
You were
about
going to see if, sorry, Carla, you were going to see if the other person was going to take over?
All right, you might as well just say his name.
Okay. Vance.
Okay. Is Vance going to take over for Donald Trump should the other option be enacted? Well, it's weird. It's like I almost see like yes, but there will be so many conditions on it that he's basically just, a stick figure that's going to be, doing what he's being told to do. Because I don't think there's going to be any autonomy of he gets to do the things he wants to do now. I don't think any of that is going to be allowed. I think he's an interim leader is what I'm seeing. Interim.
Okay. Interesting.
So they may hold an emergency election or something. We're going to do things differently. It's not going to be like we know from the history books. History is going to be rewritten on this one. So stay tuned. I will come back in with other thoughts should the need arise, but I thought today this was important since it does seem to be a flashpoint. So thanks you guys for showing up for the live. And we will get this up on all the listening platforms. Just go to my site. It's the Psychic Carla Barron podcast. So it'll be on all of those platforms and whatever your favorite one is. And it should be up within the hour. And I'll have that up. And I will also post more about the Uranus and Gemini situation and what possible and probable impact that's going to have on all this craziness. Can you believe we asked to be born in this timeline, that we asked to be here at this point in history? Oh my God, what was wrong with us? We all decided, oh yeah, we're going to come in and do this now. We're all just going to jump in and this is going to be historic. Strap yourselves in, guys, and just love each other and love your families and love your little stuff, all the little stuff that makes you happy during the day. Because that's the stuff you're going to remember when you leave. That stuff, the little stuff, the little smiles, the things that you do that, that most people would think are inconsequential. Those are going to be the most important things you take with you. So just remember to do that while we're going through all of this big stuff. All right, you guys, I will get this up. Thanks again for joining me. Until next time. Okay, bye-bye.